Hey there, scientists. Today we're talking about the life cycle of a frog. I'm going to be looking at this book with you and showing you some pictures and telling you about the different stages in a frog's life. And then we're going to work together to make this storyteller. A storyteller is something that you basically create so that you can tell the story of what you know. So I would use this and say to someone, the life cycle of a frog. The first stage is this, the second stage is this, and it's all attached on a string. Now, if you don't have a string, that's okay. You can still make the storyteller and just have cards instead. The string just kind of helps you keep them in order, but it's not necessary. Before we get started and before I read to you, I am going to tell you the materials you would need to make this if you're going to make it with me. So the first thing is you'll need a piece of construction paper or regular paper. I just have some green construction paper here. Any kind of paper will do. We're going to be cutting it into small squares. So if you had index cards, you could also use those instead of this paper. You will need some tape. Scissors to cut the paper if you're using construction paper and not index cards. You're going to need a pencil, maybe a marker if you have one, or a dark colored pen or marker. So these are the materials you'll need. Oh, I almost forgot one of the materials is a piece of string. Now you can use shoestring if you guys have extras of those lying around. This is a piece of yarn that I cut up. And it's about, I would say, 2.5 feet long. You can make it as long or as short as you want it to be. So these are the materials you'll need. I'm going to start by looking at this book with you, though. This book is called The Life Cycles of Animals by National Geographic. This says, some animals go through very different stages as they grow. This process is called metamorphosis. You're going to be seeing a lesson from me later this week all about this word. Frogs lay eggs. Frog eggs have tiny tadpoles inside. This is blown up so you can see it really big, but I've actually held frog eggs before, and they're very small, but they lay lots and lots. They in fact lay hundreds of eggs at one time, and it's inside this like jelly substance. So if you like those jelly toys, squishy toys, I used to hold frog eggs when I was a kid, and it kind of felt like one of those jelly toys. So frog eggs have tiny tadpoles inside them, and then as the eggs mature, young tadpoles come out of the eggs. This is a picture of a young tadpole. A tadpole has a tail, and it uses gills, which are these slits on the sides of their heads, to breathe in water. Fish also have gills. So really, a baby frog, which is a tadpole, is kind of like a fish. It has a tail, it has gills. But as a frog matures, the tadpole ends up getting not only front legs, but then it develops back legs. And this stage, when it has front and back legs, but still has that tadpole tail, it's called a froglet, which I think is kind of a cute word. An adult frog has lungs, it can breathe air, it no longer has a tail. I was doing some reading about frogs before I made this lesson, and I read that the tail actually gets absorbed back into its body. So it kind of just grows and shifts and changes, and the tail ends up going away. It gets absorbed back into the frog's body. So that is the life cycle of a frog. They start as eggs. They emerge as tadpoles. The tadpole grows legs and becomes a froglet, and then it's an adult frog. Adult frogs have lungs, and they breathe like we do. They breathe air. So a major change, they go from having gills where they can breathe water to being able to breathe air. It's called a metamorphosis. It's a very big change from this to this. So let's make a storyteller. I need 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna need 5 small squares of paper. Now you can use index cards. You would need 5 index cards, or you could cut them in half and make it even smaller. I only have 5 pieces here, so I'm gonna use my piece of construction paper. And just what I would do if I were you and I was making this at home, I would cut a strip of construction paper about as wide as you want your cards to be. And then I would just match them up and see that they're like kind of the same size. So here's another one. They do not have to be perfect at all. Not what we're going for. Okay. Now I have 5 cards that are about the same size. On the first card, I am going to get my marker or whatever else you're writing with, and I'm going to call it the life cycle of a frog. And that's my title. That'll be at the top of my string if I'm putting it on a string. I'm going to set that to the side. The first stage of a frog's life cycle is when it's an egg. And there are lots of eggs. So to make lots of eggs, and I'm doing this in pencil first, so hopefully you can see, I'm making tons of tiny, tiny eggs. You know what? I'm going to do this with marker because, or pen, because I want to make sure you can see it. So make lots of circles in a row. And then I put like a little squiggle in each one to show that there's a tadpole, a tiny tadpole inside of it. And then I kind of do like this loose squiggly line all around it to show that it's in that jelly substance I was telling you about. Now after I've drawn the eggs, and remember you can always pause if you're not here yet, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to say frogs lay hundreds of eggs, because that's a fact I learned. I'm going to do an exclamation point. My egg card is done. I'm going to put it over to the side. The next stage, and stay with me because I was kind of scared to draw this, but I figured out a way that's not too hard. This is a tadpole. So in the bottom left corner, I'm going to start by making a squiggly line, and then I'm going to turn it into almost an oval at the top. After I've done that, then I can go to the tail and connect it, slowly getting bigger as I connect it to the head. And then at the tail, I'm going to kind of make some wavy lines around, and then gradually taper off. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And then what will make it really look like a tadpole is these little lines here, these little diagonal lines that are kind of going this way. And then on the bottom, it will go the opposite. I mean, not the opposite, but it'll point in the same direction. Kind of makes it look like it's a wavy kind of flap there. And then up here, I'm going to give it an eye. I'm going to give it gills because they use gills to breathe. And why don't we give him a little smile because he's a cartoon frog. I mean, a cartoon tadpole. After you've done this, I want you to flip it over, and then we will say tadpoles have gills. And then I'm going to say they grow front legs first. You'll notice I'm kind of writing it onto the side. That's because there's going to be a piece of string, if you're using string, that will tape. And I want to be able to see my story, or the things that I want to be able to talk about while I use this. My tadpole's done, and he's very cute. I'm going to set him off to the side. And the next stage would be a froglet. Now, I was kind of scared to draw this one too, but I think I found away. So stick with me. This one I'm going to start with the tail again as well. So I'm going to start in the bottom corner again. A froglet has a tail, so I'm making this kind of V shape. And I'm going to go up the body, and I'm going to give him like a little lump for an eye. And then I'm going to give him his snout over here. Now why don't we go in here and add our eye right away. He's still looking up. Let's see. I need to give him back leg. So I'm going to make this shape. And then I'm going to make this shape. And back here I want to do a little V. Bring it down. Make an upside down W, or I guess like an M. And connect it up. Now I can just connect these lines. And look, he has a leg. Up here, I want this line to curve like that. And I want it like this. And I'm going to give him his other leg. Now I'm going to give him his tummy. And we'll give him a smile as well because he's a cartoon frog. And I think that he has lungs at this point. So I'm going to give him like a little nose here. To polish him off, I'm going to give him another V here. And I'm going to give him some ridges on his back. This is my froglet. On the back, I'm going to say froglets have 4 legs, but still have a tail. Froglet's done. The last one I'm going to do is a full-grown frog. And I'm doing this one in pencil first so that you can see the general shapes. So the first thing is you're going to want to make an egg right in the middle of your paper. And then I want you to make 2 ovals coming out of the side that aren't completely finished. Then you can give him his feet. And at the top, 2 eyes. The reason I did this, but now I don't know if I have an eraser. So the reason I did it is because then you can erase these 2 lines here, but I'm just going to put his eyeballs here. And give him a little frog nose, a little frog smile. I'm going to do 2 lines here to show that his legs are bent and he's ready to go. Really, he should have some more legs, but this works just fine. So this is my frog. On the back, I'm going to write that adult frogs breathe with lungs. Okay, I have all of my frog cards, and so the last step of my storyteller is I'm going to take my string, I'm going to take one end, and at this end I'm going to take my life cycle page, or my little piece of paper. I'm going to flip it over, upside down, take my tape, and tape the string. Like so. Now it has a string on the back. I'm going to go down a little bit and then I'm going to do my next stage. So what's the first stage? The eggs. I'm going to make it so that the eggs are here. Do you see what I'm doing? And I'm going to flip it over. Sorry for the wobbly camera. I'm going to tape it. And then it's ready for the next stage. I'm going to put this behind so that you can see what I'm doing. After eggs, we have the tadpole. So I'm going to give myself a little more space and put the tadpole here. But to tape it, I need to flip it over. Boop, boop. Tape. Froglet comes next. Flip it over. Tape. Wait, did I do it right? Yeah, I did it right. Okay. And then the last one is the frog, full-grown frog. I'm gonna flip it over and tape. This one I forgot to write off to the side, so I'll just have to know what it says underneath. And then if I have extra string after this, I can just cut it off. Voila, my storyteller is done. So now I can fold it up like this. And my storyteller's ready. So I can use it and tell someone what I know about every stage. Thanks for watching. Go show someone your storyteller and tell them what you know about the life cycle of a frog.